Good morning. Thank you for joining us for the State AGPIP Deposit Withdrawal webinar. This webinar will be published with access to the instruction sheets that will have live examples of how to complete deposit withdrawals and reallocations, and we will go over each one of those today during this webinar. For investments in EIF and BAF, the participant must provide at least 5 business days notice prior to the last business day of the calendar month. If there is a holiday during that month, we'll add in for that. So for the month of May, you have the last day of the month is a holiday, so you would add an extra day, 6 business days prior to month end. So instead of the normal 25th day of the month, it would be more like the 24th, depending on how the weekends fall. So again, it's 5 business days before month end. Deposits must be made by 10 a.m. to receive same-day credit. Otherwise, credit will be made the following business day. So if you put your wire in anytime after 10 a.m., please indicate deposited date as the next business day. We will not be able to see those funds until that timing. And in order for us to complete your transactions, we must confirm the funds have hit the account. Deposits into your STIF account can be made any day during the month. They are not tied to the 5 business days before month end. Again, any deposits into STIF and withdrawals can be made at any point during the month. The transactions in and out of BIF will be processed on the last business day of the calendar month. This will be whatever business day, not necessarily the 30th or 31st, but whatever the last business day of the month is. The settlement time will be trade plus 2, the settlement time. If you are transitioning between equity and bond, the transition time may take additional days. It could be up to T4 to 5, or we may decide to process those earlier before the end of the month to allow for the settlement time to time together so that the settlement will be done early within the first week. We're going to start with the transaction type. There are 3 different transaction types: deposit, withdrawal, and reallocations. On the published version, this will be a drop-down menu to pull from. If you're using a manual version of this document, then you can type in deposit, withdrawal, or reallocation. Deposits are for new monies being added, withdrawals of existing funds that you want to retake out, and reallocations are any movement between existing and new monies between accounts. Moving on, we'll talk about entity name. Entity name will be the actual name of your state agency. This will be indicated on your W-9 as well as your enrollment documentation, so please be sure that the entity name matches the same information that you have originally provided to us. The next issue would be your budget code number. This is an internal number that you will find internally throughout the state agency. If you are unaware how to locate that number, you will have to contact OSC to provide you that information. Disbursing account number is also an internal number that will be found within your state agency. Again, if you're unable to locate that number, you should be able to get that through OSC or contact someone in the core banking help desk. Their number is 919-814-3916. You can also reference their resources online. They do have a banking handbook under nctreasurer.com FOD resources. This information will also be found in the instruction pamphlet that is also published. Requested amount should be the total amount of your transactional request, your total amount of your deposit, your total amount of your withdrawal, or the total amount including all existing and/or new monies for reallocation. Going to the next slide, you'll have your authorized signatory. This should match your authorized signatory that was submitted during your enrollment process on your banking signature card. This would be their printed name. After you provide the printed name of your authorized signatory, you'll also provide us your title, telephone, and email of the same signatory, and then they will have to execute this document and sign this document. So again, you'll have your authorized signatory that matches the signatories provided to us during enrollment on the banking signature cards. You'll add their title, telephone number, email, and signature. If for some reason this information does change or there is movement in those people throughout your agency, it is the agency's responsibility to provide this information to us and update the signature card. We will need a revised scanned version, and the original does need to be sent to Banking Operations Attention, Mark Carlson. Moving on, we'll start talking about how to complete the deposit section of this form. If you're following using your instruction guide, you can see instructions on page 2 for the deposits. The first part we will talk about is the date deposited. Again, that will be the date that you wire funds into the account. So the date deposited should be the date that you wire funds in. If this is done after 10 a.m., it is important that you put the next business day, as we will not be able to see those funds on the same day, and we will not count them until the next day. When you complete a wire in, you will need to complete the form located at the Treasurer FOD pages. It is called Wire In with CMCS. A copy of this should also be sent to sbuforms@nctreasurer.com. You'll use this form when you are sending money outside of your budget code or disbursement account. So if there are funds coming from outside your budget code or disbursement account, you'll complete this Wire In with CMCS form and make sure a copy goes to SBU Forms. If you're using money that is inside your budget code or disbursement account, you just need to initiate that deposit by recording a CMCS requisition form using your budget code to your disbursing account. Lastly, you're going to complete this withdrawal form for AGPIP, indicating the allocation of funds you want deposited between equity, bond, and short-term investment fund. So indicate the actual dollar amounts and make sure the total matches the total requested at the top. Last reminder is notification of deposits must be made by the 5th business day prior to month end, along with the wire in. All funds must be able to be viewed 5 days before month end. Moving on to withdrawals, the only information we need for the withdrawal transaction is the allocation, where you're pulling those existing funds from, whether it's from equity, bonds, or your short-term investment fund. We need to know how much you want pulled from each of them and returned to you. If you are changing them between accounts, that is considered a reallocation, not a withdrawal. So again, if you're withdrawing funds that you want returned to you, we need to know how much from which account, and the total should match the requested amount at the top of your screen. We're going to go into the actual live samples to show what we've just discussed and to better explain how reallocations work. Starting with deposit form, you'll see that at the top, we'll complete the transaction type as a deposit. We'll state your entity name. It will not state state agency, but your actual agency name. You'll complete your budget code and disbursing account numbers. Your budget code is a 5-digit code, while your disbursing account should be a 7-digit code. The total amount of your request, and then complete your authorized signatory name, title, telephone number, email, and they need to execute this form. The date deposited will again be the amount that is wired in on the day that it is wired in, and you'll send out your allocation. Looking at your transaction type for withdrawals, again, you'll complete the state name, agency name. You'll fill in the allocation. The allocation total amount should equal the total amount requested, and all the top information will be the same as before. Reallocations are a little different. The requested amount should match the total, whether it's deposit and or withdrawal. The total should match the total requested amount at the top. The same information will be completed. In this case, it will be existing funds that are being withdrawn from your accounts and deposited into bond. So the amount we will be withdrawing is equity index 50, short-term cash is 20 for a total of 70,000. That will be reallocated to the bond fund of 70,000. And that it would be a complete withdrawal using only existing funds. Again, the date deposited will be the date that those funds will be deposited in the account. And based on this type of transaction, since we are pulling the funds out at the end of the month, settlement time will be the beginning of the following month. When we are doing a reallocation that includes existing funds and a new deposit, the difference would be that we will put down the total amount in the deposit section, which would include your new monies. So for the same example of using existing funds of $70,000, adding an additional deposit of $30,000, The new deposit under BIF will be a total of $100,000. The bottom shows that we're pulling existing funds of $70,000 out of equity and short-term as previously done, but that we will also be adding new monies of $30,000 to that deposit into bond. So this will automatically alert us that there's only 70 coming from existing funds, that we should be expecting 30,000 to hit new funds. The date deposited for those 30,000 should match the date deposited under the deposit section. So the total requested amount will reflect 100,000, not 70. So 100,000 is the amount that's being deposited into the bond using new monies and existing funds from the withdrawal. The date deposited, again, will reflect the date you wired in those new funds. That completes the reallocation section of this webinar. So again, we want to make sure that the actual AGPIP forms are sent to the agpip@nctreasurer.com account. When you're making deposits, make sure that SBU is sent copies of the wire in with CMCS forms if you're using money outside your budget codes. Hopefully this was informational for you. We hope you have a good day, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you.